Commander Tae-young stood on the bridge of the Horizon's gate, watching the stars through the massive view screen. The orbital station had been his home for 3 years now, floating high above Earth. It was a quiet night shift, or at least it should have been. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," Ji-woo said from her station. The young communications officer leaned forward, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. "It's a signal, not from any of our colonies." Tae-young walked over to her station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. "Show me." The display lit up with patterns and frequencies. They were organized, purposeful. This was not random noise from space. This was a message. "It's coming from beyond Mars' orbit," Ji-woo continued. Her voice shook slightly. "Commander, I think it's from aliens." The bridge went silent. Every crew member turned to look at their commander. Tae-young felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. This was the moment humanity had wondered about for centuries. "Send it to analysis," he said quietly. "And wake up, everyone. Contact Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors." Within an hour, the space around Earth buzzed with activity. Ships moved into position. Communication channels filled with urgent voices. And then, they appeared. 5 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the moon. They were beautiful in a strange way, covered in patterns that seemed to glow with soft blue light. Each ship was larger than anything humans had built. The alien message came through clearly now, translated by their computers into human languages. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Valkyrie, representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace to welcome you into the community of intelligent species. We have watched your progress and determined you are ready for contact. Please prepare to receive our delegation." Tae-young read the message 3 times. Something about the tone bothered him. It reminded him of how adults spoke to children. Polite but superior. "Send our response," he told Ji-woo. "Welcome them to Earth space. Tell them we're happy to meet them. But inform them they need to move their ships to designated zones around the station for safety protocols." Ji-woo looked surprised.
"Sir, shouldn't we just—"
"Accept what they want? Would you let a stranger park wherever they wanted in your home?" Tae-young asked. "Send the message." On board the lead Valkyrie ship, Elder Vrentok received the human response with confusion. The old alien's skin changed color slightly, a sign of his surprise. In his 300 years of conducting first contacts, no species had ever asked them to follow their rules. "They want us to move?" his assistant asked. "Should we remind them of our superiority?" "No," Vrentok said slowly. "Do as they ask. I want to see what kind of species behaves this way during first contact." The ships moved to where the humans requested. Tae-young watched them comply and nodded with satisfaction. So they could follow instructions. Good. 3 days later, Ambassador Hae-won arrived at the Horizon's gate from Earth. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her life studying alien possibilities, and now she would meet real aliens. The meeting room was simple but clean. Humans sat on one side of a long table, the Valkyrie on the other. The aliens looked like tall, thin beings with forearms and smooth purple skin. Their eyes were large and dark. "We are honored by your presence," Vrentok began. "We bring gifts of technology and knowledge. We will teach you about the galaxy, help you develop faster-than-light travel, and guide you as you take your first steps into the larger universe." Hae-won smiled politely. "We appreciate your offer. We have some questions first. How many species are in this Galactic Council? What are the rules for trade? Do you have territorial disputes? What is your system of government?" The questions came one after another, detailed and specific. Vrentok found himself answering for 2 hours. The human ambassador took notes and asked follow-up questions. She didn't seem awed or grateful. She seemed like a professional negotiator. "You seem very prepared for this," Vrentok finally said. "We've thought about this possibility for a long time," Hae-won replied. "We want to understand what we're joining." That night, Vrentok met with his team in private. "Something is wrong," he said. "This doesn't feel like a first contact." "What do you mean, Elder?" one of his assistants asked. "Their technology," Vrentok said. "Did you notice how their defense systems tracked our every movement? Even our stealth scouts couldn't avoid their sensors. And their ships, the ones we've seen in their system, they're more advanced than we expected. Perhaps they developed faster than normal," another assistant suggested. "Perhaps," Vrentok agreed. "But there's something else. The way they carry themselves. They have no fear. Every other species we've contacted was either terrified or so excited they could barely function. These humans are just calm. Maybe they're good at hiding their emotions, the first assistant said. Vrentok's skin darkened with concern, or maybe they have no reason to be afraid. Back on Earth, in a secure facility deep underground, a different meeting was taking place. Military leaders and scientists gathered around a table, watching the footage of the alien ships. They have no idea, do they? General Minho asked. Dr. Jason, the head of Earth's Secret Research Division, shook his head. No, they think we're primitive. They don't know about the Deep Space Monitoring Network. They don't know about the weapons platforms hidden in the asteroid belt. They certainly don't know about the things we've found in the old ruins. How long do we maintain the illusion? Another general asked. As long as possible, Dr. Jason replied. We need to learn everything we can about them first. About the galaxy. About who else is out there. When they think you're weak, they tell you things. When they fear you, they hide things. And if they discover the truth? Dr. Jason smiled slightly. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But I don't think they'll figure it out anytime soon. They're too convinced of their own superiority. Back at the Horizon's gate, Jiwoo finished her shift and went to the observation deck. She looked out at the Velkari ships floating in space, their lights twinkling. Tae-young found her there. Thinking about our new friends? He asked. It's amazing, isn't it? Jiwoo said. We're not alone in the universe anymore. We never were alone, Tae-young said quietly. We just didn't know it yet. He put his hand on the cold window looking past the alien ships to the stars beyond. Somewhere out there were answers to questions humanity had been asking for a very long time. Questions about where they came from. Why certain things felt familiar even though they shouldn't. Why human instincts sometimes seemed too perfect for Earth alone. But those questions could wait. For now, they would play the role of the young species eager to learn. They would watch and listen. And when the time was right, when they understood the full picture of what was really happening in this galaxy, then they would decide what to do next. The Velkari thought they were welcoming a new species to the galaxy. They had no idea they were actually waking up an old one. The journey to Axis Prime took 2 weeks. Ambassador Haiwan stood on the bridge of the human ship, watching as they approached the massive space station that served as the headquarters for the Galactic Council. The station was enormous, built over thousands of years by hundreds of different species. It looked like a small moon made of metal and lights. Impressive, Dr. Shung-ho said beside her. The scientist had spent his whole life studying the possibility of alien life, and now he was about to meet dozens of different species. Stay focused, Nari said from behind them. The security chief stood with her arms crossed, her eyes scanning everything. She had been special forces before taking this job, and she didn't trust anything yet. We don't know who's friendly and who's not. Their ship docked at one of the many ports. As they walked through the corridors, they saw aliens of all kinds. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange it hurt to look at them for too long, but all of them stopped to stare at the humans. They're looking at us like we're animals in a zoo, Nari muttered. Let them look, Haiwan said calmly. We're looking at them too. The Grand Council chamber was a massive dome filled with seats arranged in circles. Representatives from over 200 species sat waiting. At the center was a raised platform where the humans would stand. Elder Vrentok introduced them. Honored Council, I present the humans of Earth, the newest species to join our galactic community. Applause filled the chamber, but it felt patronizing to Haiwan. Like adults clapping for a child who learned to tie their shoes. The ceremony continued with the traditional welcome. The council's leader, High Counselor Zenthar, a being made of something that looked like living crystal, spoke in a voice that echoed through the chamber. We welcome humanity to the stars. Zenthar said, as is tradition, we offer you the gifts that will help you join us as equals. He gestured and several aliens came forward carrying data devices. Here you will find the secrets of faster-than-light travel, advanced power generation, defensive shields, and communication systems that will let you speak with all of us. Dr. Shung-ho stepped forward and bowed politely. Thank you for your generosity, he said. However, we must decline most of these gifts. The chamber went silent. This had never happened before. You decline? Zenthar asked, his crystal body flickering with confusion. We already have faster-than-light travel, Shung-ho explained. Our ships used it to get here. We also have our own power systems and shields. They work differently than yours, but they function well. We would be interested in your communication standards, though. That would help us talk with everyone more easily. Whispers spread through the chamber like fire. Species turned to each other, speaking in hundreds of different languages. The humans shouldn't have these technologies yet. It took most species centuries after first contact to develop such things. How did you develop FTL travel so quickly? A delegate demanded. It was a large insect-like being from a species called the threne. We've been working on it for about 80 years, Sung-ho said. We had some success, though I admit our method is probably less efficient than yours. We'd love to compare notes and improve both our technologies. This response confused them even more. The human was offering to share technology, not just receive it. And he spoke like an equal, not a grateful student. The presentation continued. HFY spoke about Earth's history, carefully telling a version that left out certain details. She talked about their wars and their peace, their art and their science. She made humanity sound interesting but not threatening. We're eager to learn from all of you, she concluded, and we hope we can contribute something valuable to this community as well. After the ceremony, there was a reception. This was where the real work happened. Diplomacy wasn't done in grand chambers but in quiet conversations over drinks. A delegate from the Korthan Empire approached Nari. The Korthan looked like massive reptiles that walked upright. And this one was particularly large. He leaned down to her, trying to intimidate her with his size. Your species looks weak, he hissed. Soft skin, small bodies. I wonder how you survived on your planet. Nari looked up at him without any fear in her eyes. We survived the same way everyone does. By being smart enough to know when someone is trying to pick a fight they can't win. The Korthan laughed. Are you threatening me, little human? No, Nari said calmly. I'm just observing. You're trying to make me scared. It's not working. So either you actually want to fight, which would be stupid in a diplomatic setting, or you're all show. Either way, I'm not impressed. Before the Korthan could respond, Nari simply walked away. Other delegates who had been watching whispered among themselves. The human hadn't backed down. She hadn't even seemed nervous. Meanwhile, HFY was having a more pleasant conversation with Elder Vrentok. I'd like to request access to your archives, she said. We're very interested in galactic history, particularly ancient history. Of course, Vrentok said, though I must warn you our records go back over 50,000 years. It will take you quite some time to review everything. We like to be thorough, HFY replied with a smile. Dr. Sung-ho spent his time talking with other scientists. He found that human mathematics was surprisingly similar to what the galaxy used. In fact, it was almost identical to what was called the ancient standard that most modern math was based on. We just developed it naturally, Sung-ho explained when asked. Is that unusual? Very, a scientist from the peaceful Mylar species said. Most species develop different mathematical systems. We all had to learn the ancient standard after we joined the council. But you already use something nearly identical. That's quite a coincidence, Sung-ho nodded thoughtfully. Yes, quite a coincidence. In a secure room far from the reception, several council members held a secret meeting. They were the Security Council, the ones who really controlled things. Something is wrong with these humans, one of them said. They're too advanced. Too confident. Could they be a threat? Another asked. I don't know yet, a third replied. But we need to watch them carefully. Have intelligence gather everything they can about Earth. Already done, the first one said. But here's something interesting. We ran their genetic samples through our database. Standard procedure for new species. And the computer flagged something. Their genes contain markers that we've only seen in the oldest species in the galaxy, races that went extinct millions of years ago. It doesn't make sense. Could the data be wrong? That's what I thought. So I checked again, and then I noticed something else. The genetic scan triggered an automatic search in the deepest archives. Files that haven't been accessed in over 50,000 years. What kind of files? That's the problem. They're sealed. I don't have clearance to open them. I don't even know who would have that clearance. These files are older than the council itself. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Find out what's in those files, the lead council member ordered. Whatever it takes. Back at the human ship, the delegation gathered for their own meeting. They're suspicious, Nari reported. That's good. Suspicious people make mistakes. The archives will tell us what we need to know, HFY said. If the answers are anywhere, they're there. And if we're right? Seung-ho asked. If we're right about what we found in those ruins on Mars, about what those artifacts mean, then everything changes, Haewon said quietly. But we need proof. We need to be sure before we say anything. The galaxy isn't ready for the truth yet. Are we ready? Seung-ho asked. Haewon looked out the window at the massive space station, at the hundreds of species going about their lives completely unaware of what was coming. No, she admitted, but we will be. In the deepest part of the Council archives, an old computer system activated for the first time in millennia. It began searching through files that no living being remembered existed. It was looking for something specific, triggered by the human genetic signature. Deep in the code, a message waited. A message left by someone long ago. A message that would change everything. The archivist would find it in 3 days, and when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Kaite had been in space for most of his adult life, but he never got tired of watching stars streak past his ship during faster-than-light travel. The Eternal Dawn was an exploration vessel, built to seek out new worlds and study them. It was a peaceful mission, which Kaite preferred. He had seen enough fighting in his youth. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal, Bora announced from the tactical station. The young officer's face was tight with concern. It's from the colony ship Bright Hope. They're under attack. Kaite was on his feet immediately. Show me their position. The holographic display showed a solar system 3 light-years away. The Bright Hope carried 5,000 colonists heading to a new world. Families, children, people looking for a fresh start. How fast can we get there? Kaite asked. Yu-jin looked up from her engineering station. 20 minutes if I push the engines. Do it, Kaite ordered. Battle stations. All crew, this is not a drill. The Eternal Dawn dropped out of FTL travel at the edge of the system. What Kaite saw made his blood run cold. 5 massive warships surrounded the Bright Hope. They were Kreth vessels painted in dark red and black. The Kreth Dominion was known across the galaxy for one thing: bullying weaker species into submission. Open a channel to the Bright Hope, Kaite ordered. The face of Captain Yoon-soo appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted and scared. Kaite, thank God. They're demanding we surrender. They want our cargo, our ship, and they want to take some of our people as slaves. How long can your shields hold? Maybe an hour. But they said if we don't surrender in 10 minutes, they'll start destroying our ship section by section. Kaite nodded slowly. Get your people to the central sections. Strongest shields there. I'll handle this. You can't fight 5 warships, Yoon-soo protested. The Eternal Dawn is just an exploration vessel. Trust me, Kaite said. I've got this. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Bora analysis of those ships? Bora worked quickly. Kreth Dominator-class warships. Heavy armor, plasma cannons, missile systems. They're designed to overwhelm opponents with superior firepower. Each one could destroy 3 or 4 regular military vessels. Good to know, Kaite said calmly. Yu-jin, time to stop pretending we're a civilian ship. Unlock the real systems, Yu-jin smiled. It was not a nice smile. Finally. I've been waiting for this. Her fingers flew across her console. Throughout the Eternal Dawn, hidden systems came online. Panels slid away to reveal weapons that shouldn't exist on an exploration ship. The engines suddenly burned brighter as their true power was unleashed. The shields strengthened from a faint shimmer to a solid wall of energy. On the Kreth command ship, War Master Dreknar watched his screens with amusement. The Kreth were large, muscular beings with thick gray skin and sharp teeth. They enjoyed dominating others. Another human ship approaches, one of his officers reported. One ship? Dreknar laughed. These humans are stupid. We'll destroy it as a lesson to the others. Show the galaxy what happens when you defy the Kreth Dominion. Sir, the human ship is broadcasting a message. Dreknar gestured impatiently. Put it through. Let's hear them beg. Kaite's face appeared on every Kreth screen. His expression was calm, almost bored. This is Captain Kaite of the Earth vessel Eternal Dawn. You are attacking civilian colonists. This is your only warning. Leave now or I will disable your ships. The Kreth bridge erupted in laughter. You? One ship will disable 5 of ours. Dreknar roared with amusement. Humans really are as stupid as we heard. All ships, destroy that arrogant fool! The 5 Kreth warships turned toward the Eternal Dawn and opened fire. Hundreds of plasma bolts and missiles streaked through space, Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Shields holding at 98%, Bora reported, her voice steady. They're not even scratching us. Kite nodded. Return fire. Non-lethal only. I don't want to kill anyone today. Yes, sir, engaging. What happened next was recorded by dozens of observation satellites and would be studied by military academies for years to come. The Eternal Dawn moved, but it didn't move like a ship. It moved like a dancer, like something alive. It flowed through space, dodging attacks that should have been impossible to avoid. Its weapons fired with perfect precision, hitting specific points on the Kreth vessels. The first Kreth ship's engines exploded, leaving it drifting in space. The second ship's weapon systems went offline all at once. The third ship tried to flee, but the Eternal Dawn was somehow faster, appearing in front of it and disabling its faster-than-light drive with a single shot. Dreknar watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. How is this possible? Fire everything! All weapons! But it didn't matter. The human ship was too fast, too precise, too advanced. Within 3 minutes, all 5 Kreth warships were floating helplessly in space, their crews alive but their ships completely disabled. Kite opened a channel to Dreknar. Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. Rescue vessels will arrive in a few hours. I suggest you use this time to think about your life choices. He closed the channel before Dreknar could respond. Bora, what percentage of our combat systems did we use? Kite asked. Bora checked her displays. 28%, sir. Make sure that information gets included in the official report, Kite said. The galaxy should know we were taking it easy. Yujin laughed from her station. I love this job. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within hours, every species knew what happened. The humans, the new species that everyone thought was primitive, had defeated 5 Kreth warships with a single exploration vessel, and they had done it without breaking a sweat. Emergency sessions were called in governments across the galaxy. Military leaders demanded answers. How did humans have such advanced technology? How did one of their civilian ships defeat an entire Kreth attack fleet? At the Galactic Council headquarters, chaos reigned. The council members gathered in emergency session, shouting over each other. They lied to us, one delegate screamed. They said they were a new species. They are a new species, Elder Vrentok said, trying to restore calm. They've only been in space for a few centuries. Then how do they have technology that advanced? Another demanded. Even we can't move ships like that. High Counselor Zenthar raised his crystal arms for silence. We will demand an explanation. We will send a formal request for humanity to explain their capabilities. And if they refuse, someone asked. Then we will have a problem, Zenthar admitted. In a different part of the station, the archivist sat in front of an ancient computer terminal. He was a Mylar, a species known for their record-keeping and attention to detail. His name was Pelvor, and he had been working in the archives for 60 years. The file he had been searching for finally opened. He had spent 3 days breaking through security protocols that were older than most civilizations. And now finally he could read what was inside. His hand shook as he read. It couldn't be true. It was impossible. But the evidence was right there in front of him, authenticated with security measures that couldn't be faked. Oh no, he whispered. Oh no, he had to tell the council. They had to know. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. He stood up to leave and then hesitated. Should he tell them? This information would change everything. It might cause panic. It might start wars, but they had a right to know the truth. Pelvor made his decision. He gathered the files and headed to the council chambers. Behind him, the computer screen displayed a single line from the ancient document. Project reset, status complete. Species human, origin old home. Role, Galactic Guardian. Note, memory wipe successful. They will remember when the time is right. In the eternal dawn, Kite sat in his ready room looking at a small object he kept in his desk. It was a fragment of something found on Mars, in ruins that shouldn't exist. The fragment had writing on it that no one could translate. No one except humans who found they could read it instinctively, even though they had never seen the language before. The writing said simply, "We were here first. We will return." Kite put the fragment away. The time for secrets was almost over. Soon everyone would know the truth. He just hoped the galaxy was ready for it. He wasn't sure he was ready for it either. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most attended meeting in 5,000 years. Every species sent representatives. Ships filled the space around Axis Prime. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for answers. Admiral Dongwu walked into the council chamber wearing a military uniform that made Elder Vrentok's skin change color with shock. The uniform was covered in symbols and insignias. Vrentok had seen those symbols before in the oldest archives. They were the marks of the ancient guardians, the legendary beings who had supposedly founded galactic civilization 50,000 years ago. Beside the admiral walked Dr. Yunji, a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She carried a data device that seemed to hum with importance. The council recognizes Admiral Dongwu of Earth, High Counselor Zenthar announced. You have been summoned to explain your species' capabilities. The incident with the Kreth Dominion has raised serious concerns. Dongwu bowed respectfully. I understand your concerns, Counselor. We are ready to provide a full explanation, but I must warn you the truth is not what you expect. Then tell us the truth, Zenthar demanded. Who are you really? Where did your technology come from? Are you a threat to the galaxy? We are not a threat, Dongwu said. At least not in the way you fear. May I ask Dr. Yunji to present our history? She can explain better than I can. Zenthar nodded and Yunji stepped forward. The chamber's central display activated, showing images and data. 150,000 years ago, Yunji began, humanity did not live on Earth. We lived on a planet we called Old Home in a region of space that is now empty. We were not a young species then. We were old, ancient, advanced beyond anything you can imagine. Whispers filled the chamber. Several delegates stood up in protest, but Zenthar gestured for silence. Please continue, he said. Ancient humanity built an empire that spanned the galaxy. Yunji continued. The display showed star maps with vast territories marked in blue. But we were not conquerors. We were guardians. We helped other species develop. We protected them from threats. We established the foundations of what would become the Galactic Council. This is nonsense, a Threne delegate shouted. We have no records of such a species. That's because we erased them, Yunji said quietly. We erased almost everything. Because we had to. She touched her data device and the display changed. It showed a massive phenomenon in space, something dark and terrible that seemed to consume stars. 150,000 years ago, a catastrophe threatened the galaxy. We called it the Void Wave. It was a cascade of dimensional instability that would have destroyed all life. Our scientists calculated that it would reach every inhabited world within 10,000 years. The chamber was completely silent now. We had a choice. Yunji continued. We could try to fight it and likely fail. Or we could try something radical. We could sacrifice everything we had built to give the galaxy a chance to survive. What did you do? Vrentok asked, his voice barely a whisper. We seeded ourselves across the galaxy, Yunji explained. We found thousands of primitive worlds and placed small populations of our people on them. We gave them nothing. No technology. No knowledge. No memory of who they were. We made them start over from the beginning. Why? Zenthar asked. Why would you do that? Because our scientists discovered something, Yunji said. The Void Wave was attracted to advanced civilizations, to the specific frequencies and energies that advanced technology produces. If we removed all traces of our civilization, if we went silent, the wave would pass through the galaxy without finding anything to consume. And it worked? Another delegate asked. Yes, Yunji confirmed. The wave passed through over 100,000 years ago. Most of the seeded populations survived. They evolved naturally on their new worlds, growing and developing at their own pace. Earth was one of those worlds. We were one of those populations. But you remember now, Vrentok said. How? The memory wipe was designed to be temporary, Yunji explained. Our ancestors knew that eventually we would need to remember. They built triggers into our genetic code, into our language, into our basic mathematics. As we developed technology and reached certain milestones, the memories would start to return. Not all at once. Slowly. Like waking up from a long dream. Admiral Dongwu stepped forward. Over the past century, humans have experienced what we call the awakening. We've developed technologies that feel instinctive rather than invented. We've had dreams of places we've never been, We've found ruins on Mars and in our asteroid belt that we somehow know how to read, even though we've never seen the language before. The ruins, a delegate shouted. We've found ruins across the galaxy, ancient structures that no one can explain. They're ours, Dongwu confirmed. Or rather, they're yours too. Because we didn't just seat ourselves on other worlds. We influenced the development of other species as well. Not directly. Not by controlling you, but by leaving behind knowledge. By setting up systems that would guide evolution. Every species in this chamber has some trace of human influence in their past. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in hundreds of languages. Some were angry. Some were scared. Some were excited. Silence. Xenthar's voice boomed. This is too important for chaos. If what you say is true, prove it. Dr. Yunji nodded. Pelvor, the archivist, has already found the proof. 3 days ago, human genetic signatures triggered an automated system in your deepest archives, a system that was waiting for us to return. The elderly Mylar archivist stood up from his seat. It's true, he said, his voice shaking. I found the files. They're authenticated with security that cannot be faked. The files contain complete records of what the humans have told us. They also contain instructions. What kind of instructions? Xenthar asked. Instructions for when humanity returned, Pelvor said. Detailed plans for how to reintegrate them into galactic society and warnings. Warnings about what? About the void wave, Pelvor said. It's not gone. It's coming back. The cycle repeats every 150,000 years. According to the ancient calculations, it will return in approximately 700 years. The chamber fell silent. 700 years seemed like a long time. But for galactic civilizations that lived for thousands of years, it was nothing. It was barely enough time to prepare, and you can stop it? Xenthar asked the humans. We don't know, Dongwu admitted. Ancient humanity couldn't stop it, only delay it. But we have something they didn't have. What's that? All of you, Dongwu said simply. Ancient humanity was one species. Powerful, yes. Advanced, yes. But still just one perspective, one way of thinking. In the time since we reset ourselves, hundreds of species have evolved. Each of you has developed technologies and ideas that we never imagined. Each of you has unique strengths. Together we might be able to do what we couldn't do alone. You want us to work together? A Korthan delegate asked skeptically. The same species that just defeated our ships want us to trust them? We don't want to rule you, Yunji said. If we wanted that, we would have done it already. We could have revealed our technology slowly, built an empire, conquered everyone. But that's not who we are. That's not who we ever were. We were guardians, not conquerors. We want to help you become strong enough to face this threat together. Elder Vrentok stood up slowly. I have been alive for 300 years, he said. I have studied galactic history for most of that time. There are stories, old stories that most people think are myths. Stories about the guardians who watched over the young species, who taught them how to reach the stars, who protected them from dangers. I always thought they were just stories. But they're not, are they? They're memories. Distorted memories of humanity. Yes, Yunji said softly. We're sorry we lied to you. We're sorry we hid who we were. But we had to know what kind of galaxy had grown in our absence. We had to make sure we weren't returning to a place that would fear us or worship us. We wanted to find a galaxy of equals. And did you? Xenthar asked. Dongwu smiled. Yes, you've built something amazing in our absence. You've created a society of diverse species working together. You've solved problems we never could. You've done it without us. That makes us incredibly proud. So what happens now? A delegate asked. Now we work together, Dongwu said. We'll share what we remember of our ancient technology. You'll share your innovations. We'll learn from each other. And together we'll prepare for what's coming. We have 700 years. It's not much time, but it's enough if we work together. And if we refuse? The Korthan delegate asked. If we don't want your help? Then we respect that, Dongwu said. We're not here to force anything. We're here to offer a partnership. You can accept or decline. Either way, we'll do everything we can to help protect this galaxy. It's our home too. The session continued for hours as delegates asked questions and debated, but slowly, gradually, a consensus formed. The galaxy would work with humanity, not because they were forced to, not because they worshipped ancient legends, but because it was the smart thing to do, because the threat was real, and because deep down they recognized something in the humans, something familiar, something that whispered of old bonds and ancient friendships. 6 months had passed since the revelation, and the galaxy was still adjusting. President So-Jin stood in her office on Earth, looking out at the planet that had been humanity's home for 150,000 years. She was the first president elected after the truth came out, chosen to lead humanity through this new era. "They're ready for you, Madam President," her assistant said. So-Jin nodded and walked to the conference room. On the screens around her were the faces of leaders from dozens of species. This was the new Galactic Council, restructured to include humanity as full partners rather than new members. "Thank you all for joining me," So-Jin began. "I know these past months have been difficult. Change always is, but I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. The technology sharing has exceeded expectations," Elder Vrentok reported. He was now serving as the liaison between humanity and the other species. "Human advances in medical technology have already saved millions of lives across the galaxy, and your shield technology has been adapted by 17 species to protect their homeworlds. And you've all taught us so much in return," So-Jin said warmly. "The Mylar's data storage systems are far more efficient than ours. The Threen's agricultural methods have helped us feed our growing population. This is what partnership looks like. Everyone benefits, but not everyone is happy," a Korthan general said. His name was Thaknor, and he had been opposed to working with humans from the beginning. "There are protests across my world. People who fear human dominance, who think you'll eventually try to control us all. I understand their concerns," So-Jin said. "We feared the same thing, but we're not interested in control. We're interested in survival, all of our survival." "Speaking of survival," Zenthar interjected, "how is the research going? On stopping the void wave? Dr. Sung-Ho leads that project," So-Jin said. "Let me connect him." Sung-Ho's face appeared on the screens. He looked tired but excited. "We've made progress," he reported. "By combining human understanding of dimensional physics with Velkari energy manipulation and Mylar computational power, we've created simulations that are very promising." "Can you stop it?" Thaknor demanded. "We don't know yet," Sung-Ho admitted, "but we're learning things about the universe that neither ancient humanity nor any current species understood alone. The void wave isn't random. It's a natural phenomenon like a storm. And like any natural phenomenon, it can potentially be redirected or dissipated. We have 700 years to figure it out. I think we can do it." "I hope you're right," Thaknor said. The meeting continued with discussions of trade agreements, territorial disputes, and cultural exchanges. It was boring work, the kind of work that held civilizations together. So-Jin found she liked it much better than grand revelations and dramatic confrontations. After the meeting, Ambassador Haewon visited So-Jin in her office. The older woman looked pleased. "It's working," Haewon said. "They're starting to see us as partners, not as threats or saviors." "Some of them are," So-Jin agreed. "Others will take more time. Thaknor and his people won't trust us for generations. But that's okay. Trust is earned, not demanded." "The ancient humans would be proud," Haewon said. "I hope so," So-Jin replied. "They sacrificed everything to give the galaxy this chance. We need to make sure it was worth it." Across the galaxy, things were changing in small but important ways. On Velkari worlds, human teachers worked in schools, sharing knowledge while learning about Velkari culture. On Mylar stations, joint research teams made discoveries that neither species could have made alone. Even on Korthan planets, despite the protests, young Korthan studied human martial arts, fascinated by techniques that seemed to complement their own fighting styles. But the most important changes were happening in space itself. Ancient human facilities that had been dormant for millennia were waking up. Defense stations hidden in asteroid belts activated. Shipyards that could build vessels on an enormous scale came back online. Early warning systems that spanned the galaxy started broadcasting again. Captain Tae-Young stood on the bridge of his new command, a massive flagship called the Unity. It was the first ship built using combined human and alien technology, a symbol of the new era. "It's strange being back here," Jiwoo said beside him. She was now his executive officer, promoted after her role in the first contact. "Back where?" Tae-Young asked. "The Horizon's gate is just over there," she pointed. "Remember when we first detected the Velkari? That feels like a lifetime ago." "It was a lifetime ago," Tae-Young said. "We were different people then. The whole galaxy was different. Do you think we did the right thing?" Jiwoo asked. Revealing ourselves? We didn't have a choice, Taeyong said. After the Kreth incident, people were asking questions we couldn't avoid. Better to tell the truth than let them make up their own stories. I suppose, Jiwoo agreed. Still, sometimes I miss when things were simple. When we were just the new species trying to fit in. Taeyong laughed. Things were never simple. We just pretended they were. On Axis Prime, changes were even more visible. The station had been expanded using ancient human construction technology. New sections had been added to house the growing number of joint projects. The central archives, once restricted to a few researchers, were now open to everyone. Species from across the galaxy came to study their shared history. In one of the new education centers, Ambassador Haewon taught a class of young beings from a dozen different species. They sat in a semicircle around her, eager to learn. Can anyone tell me why the ancient humans chose to reset themselves? She asked. A young Velkari raised one of her 4 hands. To stop the void wave. That's part of it, Haewon agreed. But there was another reason. Can anyone guess? A Threen student clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Because they wanted the galaxy to grow on its own? Exactly, Haewon said with a warm smile. Ancient humanity realized something important. If they controlled everything, if they guided every species' development, then the galaxy would never reach its full potential. Every species would just become a copy of humanity. But by stepping back, by letting you all grow naturally, the galaxy became richer, more diverse, more creative. But they influenced us anyway, a Mylar student pointed out. You said we all have traces of human guidance in our past. Gentle guidance, Haewon clarified. Like a parent teaching a child to walk. They gave you the basic tools, the fundamental knowledge, but they let you figure out how to use them in your own way. That's why Velkari art is so different from Mylar mathematics. Even though both are beautiful and valuable, you each took the same basic gifts and made them your own. Teacher Haewon, the young Velkari asked, are you sad that your people forgot who they were? Haewon thought about the question carefully. Sometimes, she admitted. We lost so much knowledge, so much history. But we gained something too. We gained humility. We gained the experience of starting over, of struggling, of not being the most powerful beings in the galaxy. That made us better than we were before. In the research facility where the void wave was being studied, something unexpected happened. Dr. Sung-ho was working late when his computer alerted him to an anomaly. Dr. Yoonji, come look at this, he called. Yoonji hurried over. What is it? I was running simulations using the combined database of all species physics models, Sung-ho explained. And I found something. A pattern in how each species developed faster than light travel. Every species did it differently, but there's an underlying mathematical harmony to all the methods. So? Yoonji asked. So if we combine all these different approaches, if we use them together in a specific sequence, we might be able to create a shield, not to stop the void wave, but to let it pass through safely, like light passing through water instead of hitting a wall. Yoonji's eyes widened. That's brilliant. But why didn't ancient humanity think of it? Because they only had one approach, Sung-ho said. They needed hundreds of species, each with their own unique perspective, to see the full picture. The ancient humans weren't wrong to reset the galaxy. They were right. This is exactly what they hoped would happen. Back on Earth, President Sojin received the news with joy. She immediately called an emergency council meeting. This changes everything, she announced. If Sung-ho is right, we might not just survive the void wave, we might be able to neutralize it permanently. And the cycle forever. How long will it take to build this shield? Thaknor asked. His skepticism had softened over the months. He still didn't fully trust humans, but he respected their dedication. With everyone working together, about 500 years, Sung-ho estimated. We have time. Then let's get started, Zenthar said. This is what the council was meant for. Not just governing, but building. Creating something that will protect all of us. The vote was unanimous. Every species committed resources to the project. It would be the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. Years passed, decades, the galaxy transformed. Ships bearing the flags of multiple species traveled the trade routes. Mixed crews explored unknown regions together. Children of different species played together in schools on 1,000 worlds. Problems remained. There were disputes and disagreements. Some species adapted faster than others. Some still harbored suspicions. But the overall trend was positive. The galaxy was becoming more unified without losing its diversity. Captain Tae-young, now promoted to admiral, commanded a fleet of mixed-species ships. He looked at his crew, beings from 20 different worlds working in perfect coordination. "Set course for the frontier," he ordered. "There are still mysteries out there to explore." "Yes, sir," his crew responded in a dozen different languages. As the ships jumped to FTL, Tae-young thought about everything that had changed since that first night when Jiwoo detected an alien signal. The galaxy had discovered it wasn't alone. Humanity had discovered who it really was. And everyone had learned that together, they were stronger than anyone alone. In her office, Haiwan finished her class and watched the students leave, talking excitedly among themselves. A human student walked beside a Korthan one, sharing notes. A Velkari and a Mylar debated some fine point of history, but with smiles, not anger. This was what the ancient humans had hoped for. This was why they had sacrificed everything. Not to maintain power, but to create possibility. Not to control the future, but to let it grow wild and beautiful. The void wave would come. In a few centuries it would return. But when it did, it would find a galaxy ready for it. A galaxy of hundreds of species working together, combining their strengths, covering each other's weaknesses. The ancient humans had been the galactic supreme force once. They had been powerful enough to reshape the galaxy on a whim. But they had chosen something better. They had chosen to be teachers, guides, and partners. They had chosen to create a galaxy where everyone could be supreme in their own way. And in the end, that choice had saved them all.